Now, arguments come in one of two varieties here. And you might find some distinction in the logic textbooks between how precisely these terms are defined. My way of defining these terms will be influenced, if you find any discrepancy in the textbooks, probably by The Power of Logic, Wasserman, the Howard Snyders, and Stephen Lehman. Arguments come in two major varieties, inductive and deductive. An inductive argument is an argument that's trying to establish whether the conclusion is true using probability but not certainty. A deductive argument is one that's meant to guarantee that the conclusion is true, assuming the premises are true. In other words, a deductive argument is one that's intended by the person making the argument to be such that if the premises are true, the conclusion has to be true. An inductive argument is an argument in which the arguer is only trying to establish that the conclusion is probable, given the truth of the premises. Let's go back to an argument, a simplified version of an argument I already used. I like most Pixar movies. Most Pixar movies have been great, and therefore the next Pixar movie will probably be great. This is an inductive argument. I'm not trying to prove the conclusion 100% certainty. I'm giving some good evidence such that the conclusion is rendered probable if the premises are true. And if I tell you all human beings are mortal, Socrates is a human being, therefore Socrates is immortal, if the premises are true, the conclusion has to be true. There's no avoiding that. Or let me give you another distinction. All dogs are canines, and I'm trying to think of a good dog. Chuckles. Chuckles is a dog who lives upstairs. Not from here, but upstairs in a different building at home. I'm in the office now. All dogs are canines. Chuckles is a dog, therefore Chuckles is a canine. If these premises are true, the conclusion has to be true. This is a deductive argument. Most dogs are good pets and like children. Chuckles is a dog, so Chuckles is a good pet and likes children. Since I said most, this is an inductive argument. The argument is not being given as a way of proving with 100% certainty the conclusion. It's meant to establish the probability of the conclusion. That is what an inductive argument is. And of course, since logic is the study of methods for determining whether the premises of an argument provide good support, for inductive arguments and for deductive arguments, we're going to need different methods to evaluate them. And as a preview to much of the rest of this playlist, a deductive argument, if it's good, is one where the premises guarantee the conclusion, such that if the premises are true, it's not even possible for the conclusion to be false, or it's not possible for the conclusion to be false and the premises true at the same time. That's what you have in a successful deductive argument. And it turns out that the way we evaluate such arguments to see if they're good ones, to see if they succeed in their goals, to see if the deductive arguments really do establish the impossibility of the premises being true and the conclusion false at the same time. It turns out that the methods that we do that are methods of testing the structure, methods of studying the structure or the organization of an argument, methods of studying the pattern of the argument, because it turns out arguments have patterns. A pattern for an argument is the strategy by which the argument reasons, or the strategy of reasoning used by the person making the argument. The pattern of an argument is what we have to look at to establish whether it's a successful deductive argument. If it's an inductive argument, we also still have to consider the pattern of the argument, the shape of the argument, the structure of the argument, the form of the argument. We have to consider in what way the components of the argument are organized to see whether the premises provide good support for the conclusion. But in deductive arguments, that's all we need to do. In inductive arguments, we have to look at the structure, the form, the pattern, the shape of the argument, but we also have to look at some of the things the argument is about. I can put this another way. In deductive logic, we are testing deductive arguments to see if they really do succeed in proving their conclusion given the truth of the premises. In inductive arguments, we're only looking for probability. And in deductive arguments, the way you establish that a conclusion is guaranteed by its premises is to look at the way we are reasoning about things, and that's all you need to look at. But for inductive arguments, you have to look at the way we're reasoning about things and look at the things we're reasoning about. Or we can put it this way: form plus content is necessary to evaluate an inductive argument. Form alone is all you need to evaluate a deductive argument to see if the premises provide good support for the conclusion.